Okay, so why don't we go ahead and start with Peter. I've gone ahead and we already know the story. And so I've gone ahead and started pulling imagery, doing some reading. And this is something that I want you guys to do on your end if you're going to be following along with me. I was doing a lot of keywording, Google searching images for Russian peasant boy, Russian peasant outfits, traditional Russian outfits, anything that would give me a sense of some of the clothing that they would wear. I've also decided to set this during the summer rather than the winter time. I wanted him to have kind of lighter, fluffier clothes to wear. And I just thought it would be more fun to animate him if I was going to go ahead and animate him. Let me show you some of the images that I've pulled up that I like. I'm going to be keeping these on my other monitor, but I wanted you to see them. Let me put my glasses on because I can't see. I wanted you to see them just so you can, once you start doing your searches, you can see what I'm using. And there's some really nice things in here. I really like this tunic. I like the way it buttons. There's something there that I like the looseness of it too. And you can see these boys are wearing the same thing. It's just a different pattern. And you can see that they button up the side just like this does. It's off center, which I find unique. And also, you can look at this hat. I like this tunic as well. And notice that everyone, they all have like these little ropes or little pieces of cloth tying their waist, keeping that tunic in tight. So that's something that I'm going to hit. I'm liking this hat too as well. I've got this hat here, which is also, it's a traditional wool hat, but these just have so much more character to them. I really like it. And I think I might experiment with that a little bit. Here's some more outfits that I pulled up. Once again, there's that same tunic buttoning up the side. If you look at the pants as well, you can see there's a real common theme there. Although I'm not sure if I'm going to have him go barefoot or if I'm going to use these boots. There's something I like there. But you can see that these tunics and all of these paintings, all tied by ropes or cords or whatever, that's really common. It's very, very Russian. And so I'm going to hold on to that. So here's a whole bunch of different outfits. Different examples. These are some of the things that I'm looking at as reference for me to start doing some drawings of Peter. Now, I'm going to put these back. So now, with all of that in mind, in keeping Peter's age in mind, I'm imagining Peter, I want him to be around 8, 9 years old. That's whenever I hear the story when I was a kid, when I heard that story, that's how I always pictured him. And so that's what I'm going to run with. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. And like I said, I'm just kind of diving in. So you guys are going to kind of see my process, the way I do it right from the beginning. And here we go. The first thing I usually start with is I'll usually start with just drawing heads. It's something that it warms me up. And I want to start with those young traits, but like I said, I want him to be 8-ish. And I want to go for more of a Disney style. So that's my experience, that's my background, and that's my preferred style. So I'm gonna come in here and just play with some of these. The first thing I usually do is just find those proportions that I like. And so what I'll do is I'll start out and the images will be very, very plain. But I just want to find something that I like. And then once I hit something that I like, then I'll start playing with it. But right off the bat, like that, I start with doing something like this, where it's, like I said, it's somewhat plain, and then I'll get in there and start messing around with it, but I just want to see where it goes, and it's really about finding pleasing proportions that I can then go in and start messing around with expression and just seeing where it goes. Already something, I'm kind of liking something like this, and I'm thinking about what he might look like without his hat first. Because I imagine at some point in the story, especially when he's grabbing that wolf by the tail with his rope, you know, maybe his hat gets knocked off. So I'm thinking he might have short cropped hair. You know, maybe it's something a little scruffy like so. And a lot of times I'll just start out just like so, just to see where it goes. We'll get that ear drawn in very quickly. And at this stage, it's really just kind of warming up and finding, okay, this works, that works, this doesn't work. I want to find that nice neck proportion. And if you look, these guys, they have this little, you know, collar that comes up around the neck that I kind of like. These boys have it as well. It's small, but it's unique. So I want to hold on to that. I like that. I like that collar. So I'll move him over here a little bit. And this comes down and buttons over on the side. But I want it to feel somewhat loose too, so I'm going to give it a little bit of breathing room. Let's shrink that up. I'm going to flop it. I always like to flop the imagery because now you see it looks funky in the back here. Remember to always flop your drawings, look at them from behind. The neck feels like it's too small or something. I want it to come back in here. This feels better. There we go. And like I said, this is a fairly plain Jane drawing of a boy. But we can start making it unique here in a sec. And then the other thing too, let's go ahead. Like I said, I like that hat. What if I just throw it on there? Because this is rough. I'm just gonna throw it on. And that hat will enable us to kind of do something unique because I can really push the caricature of that hat as well. You know, I want him to feel small. Like I said, he's 8-ish. So I can play with that. The size of this hat. There we go. So now it starts feeling a bit more unique. Now that prop, just like I said, and the hat to me, it's an accessory, it's a prop, it's a costume. Remember, if you know, from the other video where I was talking about props and costumes, this helps makes it feel a little bit more unique. Maybe we take some of that hair, we can bring his hair out here. Maybe he's got some hair that comes down like that. Let's knock that back a little bit because there's something there that I think is coming out kind of nice. So a lot of times I'll then go in and I'll just tie it down a little bit and just see what we get. And then I can play with mouth shape a little bit more. You know, there's little details in here that I can get in and have some fun with. Now, I want him to feel a little bit more scrappy too, you know? And this particular expression is just kind of a zombie, you know, playing with proportion, looking at proportion. So when we get into when we get to drawings where he's going to emote a little bit more, I want to make sure that I get across his personality, which I think, like I said, is going to be scrappy. I mean, this is a kid. He has no fear. He jumps over the wall there and goes out and captures the wolf. But at the same time, there's a kindness to him. So I want him to feel like there's, you know, I want him to feel like he's tough. I want him to look like he's tough, or he can be tough. But you know, there's also a kindness to him because he doesn't kill the wolf. He actually convinces the hunters to bring him to the zoo. And I think that's pretty cool. It's a good character trait. This kid has a big heart. So I'm liking, there's something here I'm kind of liking. Now, I've done a lot of kids like this, and so I kind of get right to it. This is feeling kind of nice. There. And it's nice and animatable, nice and squishy. Got that nice construction underneath that I think can, you know, if we came to animating this character, could be a lot of fun to do. Yeah, there's something, I'm feeling, this is feeling kind of good. And like I said, if we get some hair, just the right amount of hair sticking out, and here's that hat, and you know, maybe we can ding it up and rough it up a little bit. You know, he's not a, I imagine him, if he's, you know, a little kid living with his grandfather, maybe, you know, they're not the richest folks in the world. And so maybe his clothes are a little tattered. But this is feeling kind of nice. Trying to keep those young proportions, you know, keeping that the eye line and nose and mouth and all that low inside the, down the, located on the skull. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and move that, the buttons over here. There, something like that. These are going to, I'm just going to roughly indicate there's something there. There we go. I want to keep it simple. I want to keep all of this simple. Now I want this hat to feel a little floppy, so I'm going to have it overlap right in there and then come right down in there. There we go. Trying to keep those angle changes nice and clean and simple. There's something there that I kind of like. Let's go ahead and shrink that up. Let's do another one. Let's try doing a little bit more expression. I'll play with it a little bit more. And I like to get a little bit more bold when I'm doing these. So maybe now he's sneaking. Let's get him sneaking along. There we go. There, we'll pull that little jaw out. His head is going to be up back here like this. And let's make him kind of serious. That feels kind of good. I'm going to set that eye back because I'm thinking about the structure. Even though we're doing something cartoony, I want to think about that structure of the skull underneath. And that head is feeling a little bit bulbous. It's going to come back like so. Let me erase that back. Like I said, you guys are going to see, you're going to see everything that there we go. That feels a little better. That feels like the right size head right there. Now, he's looking a little evil here, but that's okay. We can fix that in just a minute. There. He's supposed to be kind of sneaking along anyway. He's sneaking up on that wolf, maybe creeping forward. Now let's draw that hat in. I want to have that hat kind of tucked down over his ears, like so. So that hat would come in like so. There, see, that hat just adds so much to it. I'm really I'm really digging having the hat in there. It just really adds a lot to the character. Let's put a little bit of hair back here. There we go. It feels like a little scrapper here. And notice I'm going with these big shapes with that hat because I want it to feel nice. If I erase this back, you can see it really, it balances out the rest of the head where we got all this detail. The same with over here. I got this nice big shape, going against the head there. And so I'm always thinking about that kind of thing. There we go. Let's go ahead and move him up. And as I get more comfortable with his proportions, thinking about these shapes, with his proportions on the head, then I'll start opening up and experimenting with some different body shapes. Here, see, I've already kind of settled on this costume, which makes it easy. There's not a lot of exploring. The exploration I need to do is figuring out how to depict it, because I've got this tunic. Here it's tied. Maybe we indicate a couple of folds there. Let's do this. I'll bring his arm. You can see I'm searching. Let's bring his arm forward a little bit. I want to clear it out from these folds in here because I want to see how I would draw these folds. Nice and simple. There's something there. So I got a nice simple line coming down here. I want something that's going to indicate that line direction, or the gesture of the body. I don't want a lot of complication because I've got enough going on right in here. And maybe I'm just going to draw his hand in for now, just so we can get some proportion. There we go. And since that hand's coming forward, why don't we do this? I'm going to have that leg coming back, which would have that tunic kind of coming back this way. And then he's walking like so. And maybe he's got the other arm back here. There's something there. I like these proportions. I wonder if the head should be a little bit bigger. Let's try something. This is something I can do because I'm working digitally, but you can do this. I used to do this working on paper. I could Xerox different parts and cut them out and play with them and do all kinds of things. So here, what I want to do is I want to try bringing the size of the head up just a little bit. That's his pinky there. There we go. I want to try bringing that size of the head up just to see how it looks. I want to push that cartooniness just a hair. And it feels a little big to me, but let's go ahead and see. That's actually not too bad. If I were to shrink him or draw the rest of him out, like I said, I want to try, since I've got everything's kind of tight here and I've got a big bulbous thing happening here, I want to try balancing that out with his legs so that we give him some kind of bulky pants tucked into some boots. Like so. Maybe make those boots a little big. What's that look like? That's not too bad. There we go. Something there. So here I've got this kind of feel. That's not too bad. I would push these arms Now that we've got kind of a rough pose in here, you can see how it kind of grew just from drawing that head. I want to clear this out and get a nice clear silhouette. There, now we can see, now we got a nice shape happening. If I were to draw through, I'm thinking about what's happening underneath. There, now I can get those stress wrinkles, tension wrinkles. Thinking about the anatomy underneath, that arm is here. And these sleeves tend to be a little bit short. You can see on here, that's a good image. And you can see on here, they come up just a little bit short. And so as he's walking, that tension of him walking where he's pushing, you know, his arm is reaching out, that's gonna pull, that'll pull the sleeve back a little bit, I think. Maybe we even get a couple wrinkles here. There we go. That feels a little better. He's walking along. That feels pretty good. There's some complexity in there that I'm going to want to get rid of, but this is where it starts for me. I'm trying to find some proportions that I like. This is how I start finding those images, those poses, the proportions, all of that. I just start, you'll see, I just start messing around and erasing and resizing. There we go. We'll just get that hand drawn in there really quick. So this is something I'd like to tie down a little bit. So why don't I go ahead and do that and see if there's something that I hit on. I'm starting to like this already. And so I might start to refine this a little bit. And if I were doing this for someone other than myself, this would definitely make it into my pile of, hey, let's show the director or let's show the executives, see what they have to say, and see if we can get some input, you know, as far as where to go from here. There we go. I want to have a little wrinkle on his nose there. I'm kind of satisfied with this nose shape. I think it's nice and simple and easy to you know, draw from different angles, I think. I'm going to put a little, push that mouth cheek a little bit. Give him a little bit of a lip there. You can see that. I'm pushing that lip out just a touch. It's a little detail. But this is a pose and an expression that I'm liking. Let's show a little bit of hair. You know, that hair would be coming from up in here. So if his forehead comes up, that hair would stick out like so. I'm always thinking about drawing through. I want things to connect where they're supposed to connect. So that hair would come up and come right out of there. Maybe we see a little piece of the hat over there. Comes up. So there's something there. I'm going to pull that eyebrow. Give him a little bit more eyebrow. See how that looks. Oh, I like that eyebrow. Adding that eyebrow in there. That feels good. And you can see I'm trying to keep my line work nice and simple, thinking about anatomy, even though I'm caricaturing, thinking about anatomy. And let's get that, there's where the collar would come around and connect. And that hair right there. There, it's nice and simple. Nice and simple. Yeah, he's got an attitude. He's going out. He's going to get that wolf. He's going to prove his grandfather wrong. I like that hat. Man, I think that feels really good. Shirt would be bunching up like so as it comes back. Now let's give it a little squeeze right where he's got it tied off, right in here. There. Now we might want to look at, oh, that feels pretty good. I'm going to keep his torso a little bit small. Maybe we put a couple of little stitches in there just to see how that looks. I'm going to keep those wrinkles really simple. There we go. There. So there's a proportion here. He's probably one. Let me do this again. So it's 1, 2, 3.5. So, well, actually, if he's standing up straight, it'd probably be 4 heads. And 4 heads feels pretty good. He feels like an 8 or 9, maybe 10-year-old. So far, that's feeling pretty good to me. I'm gonna get in here and there we go. Draw that hand in. There, just rough that in real fast. There we go. I want to see there we go, the palm of the meat of his thumb there. I'm going to give him kind of little chunky fingers. There we go. This is feeling good. Maybe we get just a little bit of wrinkle there. And like we did with the hat, I want to see what this looks like. Maybe we do a little bit of that fabric kind of hanging over. Give it a little bit more billowiness, you know? And the one thing I'm missing is his butt back here. I got to think about that butt underneath. If I draw that in, coming down, his butt would come out here. Therefore, that costume is going to billow out there a little bit more. So there's the rope coming off of his behind. There we go. And maybe his tunic, the bottom of his tunic, let's bring that down a little bit further, just so we have a nice big shape. I want to see what that looks like. And maybe it comes up like so. And we get a little bit of looseness in there. That feels pretty good. I like that. Not liking that. That's a funky look. Thinking about everything. I want this to come down and I want to get a nice billow to his pants. I want to, go simple with it. I think going simple is better. 9 times out of 10, or even more, it's better. Let's see here. Put some nice simple folds in that boot. There. Now that's a little bit of tension. Folds there. And let's have this, because he's walking forward, let's have this drag. There we go. Keeping it simple. I want, let's see, I'm not liking this. I want to get a nice clean, see when I had that curve, it's fighting this nice sweeping feel that I've got to the gesture. So I'm going to adjust this and have this just feed right into his leg there. And I can break it a little bit. I can have that billow out a hair, like so. There. And then we can roughly indicate that boot. There, that's feeling pretty good. So there's a rough idea of what Peter can look like. And I'm kind of liking that. Let's go ahead and shrink that up. So that's got the right proportions. It's got, let's try a couple more. Okay, let's see. Try another expression. Let's have him, maybe he's, let's make him kind of smug looking, like maybe this is after he's caught the, maybe it's after he's caught the wolf and everyone's praising him. I want to make sure he feels young enough. Right now that cranium feels small. Let's bring that, let's increase the size of that cranium. Notice how rough I go. I like the ears sticking out too. I want him to feel a little bit awkward. Like so. Maybe we can turn his hat kind of over here a little bit. There we go. Let's move this over here. Let's see. Whoops. That feels a little too big. Yeah. It's okay, we can get in there and mess with it later. I want to get this expression right. So he's mugging for someone over there. Let's flop it. There we go. Yeah, that feels like I want to bring this nose over here now. There we go. Let's pull that chin out. He's got a big smile on his face. Keeping those young proportions. There we go. Let's get that hat coming around, because then I can get, just like I have here, and get some of that hair coming down. There we go. And because he's got this great smile, there we go. Let's push it, push those cheeks up. There's something I feel like is kind of working. I think what I want to do here is pull this back. There we go. And then pull that down. That feels a little better. There we go. Let's get this eye laid in here, right? Because right now it looks like he's bug-eyed. There we go. There. Actually, I want to pull that whole expression down. Let's get back to simple shapes. There we go. I'm going to turn it back around again. I always jump back and forth so I can see it fresh all the time. It always allows me to see the drawing with fresh eyes. And that's what I'm doing right here. See here, I'm realizing now, I want to pull that brow way over here. That feels better. There. I'm going to pull all of this down as well. I want to give him a little bit less, well, maybe it's not so bad. I was going to say I was going to give him a little bit less forehead, but I'm kind of, as I kind of discover this, it all feels pretty, it's starting to feel better for me. There. There we go. There. Give him some nice, nice loose clothing. Pull that back. You'd have that belt. That ear we definitely would not see. There we go. That cleans it out. Makes it nice. I want a nice clear statement. See how a lot of times I'll get in there and chisel a little bit because I'm trying to force it, right into place. There we go. So now if I tie this down a little bit, I'm going to shrink up my pencil, my brush size. There. I can get a little bit more detail now and really indicate what's going on with that nose. There we go. I want that, really want that mouth and feel like he's kind of tight-lipped in that expression. And there it goes right around to the other side of his face there. Trying to think dimensionally. That line work is getting a little heavy. Thinking about that shape, you know, coming around the chin And then the chin is going to follow right up into there, see? Just like so. I might be able to indicate a little bit of the bottom lip. There's that jaw line. Once again, keeping things nice, simple, pushing those cheeks up because he's smiling. There we go. There. Get some eyelashes in there, just a heavier line. There we go. And just like we did up here, I'm going to give him some eyebrows. Eyelashes. There we go. There. Let's flop it again. See how those eyes look? They're looking okay. There. It took a little bit to find that expression. Coming into the nice big ear. I like his ears to feel kind of proportionally a little too big. Makes him feel a little younger, a little goofier, a little more awkward. Like I said earlier, I want to make that collar feel a little loose. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. So this design, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting somewhere with it. I want to pull this down. Yeah, you know what? That's what it was missing. I want to try this. I'm going to pull this down here. Like it's coming around the other side of the hat. And do this with it. And then let this feed up into this shape. It's maybe a little inaccurate. Let's see here. Maybe it's not quite as pronounced. There we go. But I want to at least feel like it's overlapping. There we go. And that feeds right into there. There we go, like so. There. Just rough that in just to give it a little dimension. Let's color his eyes in. Maybe a little shadow over his eyes. There we go. There. And then, like I said before, I like playing areas of complexity against areas of simplicity. So I've got a lot of complexity going on right now in this face structure and what's going on in the face. So I want to be sure that I can find places where I can just kind of come down. Let me turn this around. There we go. Or I can come down and have some nice, simple line work like so. It just balances it out, you see? There we go, nice, simple. I'm thinking about those folds and how they're gonna work going under the arm. And then this is his collar. Like so. Maybe a few extra hairs right there. But I like this hat. There's something there that I like. He feels Russian to me, which is what he should feel like. There we go. So like I said, I'm getting some proportions that I'm liking here. Let's try a couple more expressions. Let's play with that expression a little bit. So, see how I go very, very loose. Let's go with a big expression. He's kind of looking wall-eyed a little bit. Let's pull that in. Oh, like a surprise. Oh, like so. Keeping it loose, finding it first. Let's turn that around. There we go. There we go. Getting that hat drawn in. There we go. That feels good. Oh, maybe he's jumping up. Oh, you know. There we go. I'm going to pull that ear in just a bit. I'll pull that one out just a hair. I want to widen that face. There we go. There. Switch it back around again. I'll pull this over just a bit. There we go. Just playing with that a little bit. So it really, you know, it's as many drawings as it takes to start finding the proportions, the design that you like. And then once you hit those proportions and you think, okay, this is where I want to, and don't be afraid to do a lot. I've kind of, you know, in the interest of trying to keep this video somewhat short, you know, no more than an hour or so. You know, a lot of the, you know, I've shortened it up a bit, this process. Now, normally, you know, you might take, or I might take a day, a full day doing this. You know, maybe it's a week of doing this, depending on, you know, if you know or don't know what you're looking for. I mean, if you don't know what you're looking for and you're just kind of jumping in, you know, that can really take a while. And so, you know, it's my recommendation that once you sit down, don't rush it, and just play with those proportions and see what you can come up with. You know, and play around with expression, play around with costume, play around with props. And I kind of knew what I wanted to do going into it, so it made things easier for me. There we go. Very quick. There we go. So what I like, you know, once I rough stuff out like this, then it's a matter of going in and start playing with some poses, coming up with rough poses, so that it'll give you some different attitudes, that sort of thing. And so that is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to shrink this up a little bit. There we go. I was drawing a little big. That's what I'm going to do next. I think it's ready for that now that I'm getting some proportions that I like, and I'm getting some character potential that I like. There we go. I like these proportions. This one's rough, but it gets across his attitude. And I think he's appealing. Because what we're going to do next is I'm going to get in there and we're going to do a whole sheet of different poses and really playing with that attitude and exploring what we can do with him from an attitude standpoint. I'm going to open that up. This is feeling a little even here. I'm going to pull this back just a little bit there. That feels a little less even. So that's my next stage usually is to start finding some fun attitudes that modelers can start using, animators can use, and really explore, you know, from an emotional standpoint, who this character can be. And playing different angles too. You wanted to get in and play with different angles and really explore that so people can see it, you know, get the dimensionality of that character from a 3D space. You know, it's not just, you know, so many character designs are designed with only a few angles that work. And I like to come up with designs that can work from any angle. Okay, why don't we try a few more? You know, I've got these guys all lined up, and these are feeling pretty good. I like these drawings. I'm pretty happy with them, but you know, you don't want to be satisfied right away. So I just want to experiment a little bit more. I know we might come back to this, but I'd like to play with a little bit more proportion. And just see what else we can come up with. That's what this whole video is about. That's what this time is about, is exploring, finding the design. And I don't like to settle right away. Now, I don't want to take you through, like I said earlier, I don't want to take you through a week-long journey trying to find a design, but at the same time, I don't want to settle so quick. And I want to give you your money's worth. So let's have some fun. So I'm going to go ahead and push this a little bit. Let's make him a little younger. Let's see what he looks like. So I'm going to squash him out just a little bit. And, you know, like I did in my cute video, I'm going to give him some cute proportions, but I don't want to make him too young. But, you know, maybe he's, you know, 5 or 6. Although a 5 or 6-year-old catching a wolf is probably a little unbelievable, but let's just play with it anyway and see what we come up with. And we'll pull his proportions a little younger. There we go. And I still like his nose. I want to give him a semi-realistic nose with nostrils and all that. You know, I don't want to do, you know, that kind of thing. I just, you know, and that works, but I want it, you know, you can always do that. And so, you know, if the style of film that you're working on calls for this kind of thing, then that's great. And, but for this, I want to give him something that's a little bit more grounded in reality. And it's just a little bit more work, but I like the look of it a little bit better. But there's something here already in these proportions that I kind of like. You might hear a little bit of wind. The wind is really blowing out there. We got a big storm coming in. But here we go. I'll do something there. Draw those eyes in. Now he does feel young here, and this might be too young, we'll see. But at least we're having some fun with it. He's a little squishier, which I always find a little bit more appealing. But I want to keep that hat. I definitely want to keep that hat. Another thing I was looking at, you know, I was giving him kind of this brim that comes around like this, and then that part of the hat comes up like so. But I was taking a bit of a closer look at some of this reference. And if you look at this hat, that brim kind of goes right into that bit going around the hat there. So it's a little bit different. So I'm going to try designing the hat just slightly different, just to play with it, see how it looks. And I'm looking at some of these guys too, where their hats are designed a little differently. So I'm going to go ahead and just play with that a little bit. So what happens if we do that? So well, let's do this. We'll have the hat come around. There we go. And that feels pretty good too. I still like keeping that hat big, so because we have all of this area, this concentration of detail down here. And if I keep the hat small and get detailed up in here, it just starts it'll start feeling repetitive. And I don't want to do that. There. There's something there that feels kind of nice. Let's reverse it. I like to reverse it. Let's see if things are sitting right. I kind of like it so far. I'll pull that out just a little bit more. That's not bad. Yeah. That's not bad. There's a proportion there that I kind of like. It's kind of fun. It's not drastically different than the other ones, but he is younger. And if we tie that down a little bit, what would it look like? Well, actually, let's do this first. I'm going to give him a little bit shorter neck. There we go. But more narrow shoulders. So if we did that, if I did that, let's pull this out here. You can get away with a little bit smaller body to head proportion. Like so. There's something kind of fun there. I want to give him a little bit more chin. And the chin, if I add chin, that'll age him up just a little bit. But let's see how it looks. I just wanted to fine it just a touch. It was getting a little too round for my taste. See how it ages him up just a touch? But that actually, it's not too bad. So now, let's shrink him up a little bit more. And I'm liking, there's his little body shape in here, like so. And that's going to be tied right onto his hips. There. That, these proportions actually aren't too bad. I kind of like this. And then here, you'd have those boots. I want to have his boots in here. Like so. There we go. There. Well, that's not too bad. Let's see here. Just looking at proportions. Those hands look pretty good. And then now, to clean that all up, let's have that tunic come in here. Now, if I erase this out, it'll get rid of some of that line work so we can see how it would really feel. That's feeling pretty good, because if I turn on, let's say this guy. Let's move this one over out of the way. Whoops. There's something I like about getting this nice big open space right here, as opposed to this. See how everything is fairly even? That length, that length, that length, and that length. Those lengths feel kind of even to me, but here I've got some variety, and it just feels better to me. Let me move this over just a touch. You see? Now, this is still a pleasing, I still like this design, and we can definitely get in there and play with some of these proportions, but there might be something more appealing with a kid more this age. I'm just kind of just playing with it, just rolling with it. There's something that's, I don't know, kind of fun, and a little bit more, you feel a bit more danger. When he's going, if he's this age and he's going after a wolf, you're going to go, oh no, this little guy, even though he does, maybe he's more on the 6-year-old scale of things, but maybe, and I think I like this hat doing this kind of thing. There's something there that feels kind of fun. Make that hat go a little bigger. So if I shrink this down, or knock the opacity back. Let's tie it down a little bit. I'm going to flop it back the other way. There we go. There. Keeping it nice and loose. I'm going to go a little smaller with that brush. I don't like those eyebrows. Let's try it again. Nice and loose. There we go. That little detail in the nose feels good. Give him a little, a little bottom lip there, There we go. There. I like drawing those heavy eyelashes. It just gives the eye a bit more dimension. But, you know, as those eyelashes come over, and, you know, I'm looking at that one and the right here that I'm drawing, those eyelashes come back around the other side. So I want to make sure I'm getting the dimension right. There we go. There's a little face that I kind of like. I think he's getting more appeal. He feels a little bit more innocent than the other one, which might work against us. I don't know. I'm thinking about it from a story standpoint. But, you know, maybe, like I said, it plays better to the underdog idea. And he, you know, he triumphs. He is, you know, he's got the odds stacked against him. Looking at his design, you know, you'd think this kid doesn't have a chance against a wolf, but he's smart. And I'm thinking about all these different things. How's it going to work from a story standpoint? All of that kind of thing. He's a little cross-eyed here, not liking that, but that's okay. Nice and innocent looking. There. There's something here I'm digging. So this is fun doing this in real time with you, because this is exactly how I figure all my stuff out. I just kind of take my time and draw different poses like this until I start hitting these, and making sure, the other thing too is just to make sure that you don't settle too soon. Don't settle for good enough. You know, there's so often that I've done designs and I go, yeah, you know, and it might be after I've been struggling all day, and it looks great just by comparison. And there's so often that I've come back the next day and looked at it and gone, oh man, what was I thinking? And so that's kind of what you want to do. You want to, you know, if you're coming up with something you like, that's great. But then just walk away from it for a little while, and just let it percolate a little bit in your brain, and come back to it and see if you still feel the same way about it. And if you do, then heck, that's fantastic. You're doing fantastic. Let's pull this. What do we want to play up that belly? There we go. There we go. There's his little sleeves. Once again, I want nice, simple line work coming down. There. I'm going to jump back up and finish out his head. So I like this proportion. I'm going to do another drawing after this, and just and continue with it. That feels pretty good. I like that hat too. I'm liking that hat a little better. You know, at first glance, looking at this character, he's a little cuter and he's a little bit more likable right off the bat, which I think for something like Peter and the Wolf, which is a very short story, for something like Peter and the Wolf, I think you want to like him right away. You want to be able to look at him and just fall in love with him right away. I want you to go, oh, you know, especially when you see his attitude, you know, which right now he just kind of looks neutral and, you know, there's not much to him. But once we start getting him acting, then you know, I think you need to, you know, just really instantly fall in love with the character. There we go. I'll give him his little hands. There. Whoops. There. Something temporary. Nice neutral pose. Those hands feel about the right size. And then once again, that gets too complicated. I'm just going to do this. I don't like that either. I think we need some kind of fold in the fabric. I'm going to do this. See how that looks. I don't like it. We did a couple of them. That's not too bad. Feels a little better, but still, it's flat. It feels flat to me. I want it to feel like it were going around, but I'll come back to it. So we got these pants kind of bunched up over his boots. See, I like this area of detail and a nice open area in here, an area of detail and a big hat. You know, that all feels, I like that feel. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this come around. And I'm just going to do this, but then do it that way. It's a nice cheat. For now. All right, let's finish out these boots because I want to get on to another drawing. So I think something like this is kind of nice, this age. Like I said, you know, not settling with those first drawings and just experimenting more. You're going to find, you'll find some other, you know, hopefully your choice, it'll make it tough for you to make a choice because you're really trying, you know, you're finding different things to different proportions, and you know, and if you're drawing it well enough, then it's all going to be appealing. It's just about what's the most appealing. So here, you know, and I think he might even be even younger than 6 here. Yeah, I think he might be a little young looking at this like so. But man, he does feel appealing. I do like that. See, that's the constant battle. Let's try some different poses with him. Okay. Maybe let's try something where he's like this, and let's make him playing a little bit. Let's shrink this up even more. I want to give myself room. Just put that off to the side. There we go. Draw those little eyes there. And I'm just gonna scribble a little bit. There. I like finding, like maybe he's playing with the duck in the story. And he's got his arms up in the air and he's flapping them. Let's move this up a little bit so I can give myself a little room. See, I'm keeping it loose, finding that gesture. I'm thinking dimensionally, I'm drawing through. I want that arm to come up through like this. That neck, the collar is going to be here. There we go, we'll give him a little smile. Keeping him young. There we go. There's that. There we go. There, like he's flying, he's running, and it's like he's flying. He's pretending he's flying. I want to get this all bunched up. There we go. There. I'll flop this. See, it's fun playing, coming up. See, I don't like that. That foot looks weird back there. Let's really pull it back. There we go. Do something a little bit more confident in what I'm, in the statement. Get that foot right out there. Get this one right there. There we go. There. I think that head is a little small, smaller than the proportion that we set up over here. So let's make him a little bigger. Whoa, not that big. Took off on me. There, that feels pretty good. I'm going to push that head out just a bit. That feels pretty good. So he'd be like that. Let's turn him around. That feels better, right? There we go. Might even be able to pull. Oh, that feels pretty good like that. Actually, yeah, I want to leave it like that. Let's lighten that up and have some fun tying it down. I'm liking these proportions. I might stick with these. This feels more appealing to me than the other one. We'll once I tie this down, we'll have a look at the other one. And I'm sure someone out there, one of you will disagree with me, but there's something about these younger proportions that I want to have that hair coming down. See how I started drawing it the wrong way? That hair would be coming down like so. There we go. You hear that thunder? That was thunder. There we go. Now let's get this nose. Looking at the perspective, making sure the perspective stays consistent. Always looking at different things. There we go. I want to get that nose nice and clean. You know, I'm looking at this perspective. I want to make sure the nose matches the same perspective. There we go. There. There we go. Let's open that mouth up just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just a touch. Give him his lips. There. That would bring his chin down here. I want to give him at least somewhat of a chin. So we're going to change the shape of that. I want to change the shape of his cheek a bit here. That chin comes out. That line's getting too heavy. You see how I'll go over this over and over until I want to hit the right line. I want to make sure it feels spontaneous. I'll work and work and work to make something look spontaneous. Don't we all? Give them nice wide eyes. There we go. There. There's something there. There's something there. I'm feeling it. Nice simple shape. I want to retain that simplicity. I don't want to get all angly and crazy. You know, when you're drawing kids, you want to make sure that all of your line work stays nice and simple. When you start getting, ear sticks out too much. When you start getting too much anatomy, you start losing the youth. If you get too many hard angles, oh man, I don't like that ear either. It starts to lose its appeal. It'll lose its appeal. It loses cuteness, which is the appeal, all that kind of stuff. I'll get that eyebrow that comes up behind the hat. There we go. Now, we got that little collar that's in here. Just want to indicate a little bit of it. And that shirt will have wrinkles here. Nice and simple. There we go. The seam. Maybe we'll put a few stitches in there. But I'm feeling some appeal with that. There we go. And nice, big, kind of billowy. I don't like that shape. You see how I'm constantly working it and reworking it? I don't want it to feel like it's dragging. But it was just feeling a little too big and poofy. There we go, that feels better. This might be a little too sickly sweet, but I'm going to finish it out. He is a little young. This might be a little young for our tastes. There we go. That comes down and around like so. He's got his little belt right here. Actually, that'll come around like that. We'll do it that way. There. So, I'm not going to finish this all the way up because I'm already, I like it. You know, it's all speculative, you know, I don't know. It's what someone else will like, I might not. You know, that's the world of character design. But there's something here. Although I like this. You know, I go back and forth quite a bit. Although I like it, yeah, I think I like the other ones a little better. I like these proportions, okay. But there's something about this. He feels a little more capable. He feels a little more scrappy. And I think what I can do in here, yeah, let's mess with this a little bit. Let's go ahead and play with these. Or I was telling you, I felt like maybe some of these proportions felt a little off. What if we pulled his belt down? I would put his hips up here. I'm going to lighten up that underdrawing a bit more so it's not so distracting. Let's go back in. See, don't be afraid to go back into other drawings and mess with them. They're only drawings. So this leg is, you know, this leg is in front, closest to us. This leg coming back. But it might be better played doing, there we go. That's the kind of shape I want. Doing something like that. Clear that out just a touch. Something like this. Actually, we could do something like this too with the wrinkles. I like it the other way. It's all bunched up here, so it's gonna come down like that. There we go. We'll just do something like that for now, because I just want to look at proportion. That feels better. I'm going to pull this down even more, see what that looks like. Yeah. I think I like that better rather than having it up so high. That'll give us, so then he'll have, oops, I don't want to draw on that one. So then he'll have a proportion where his head is here. There we go. And he'll have this shape to his body. Let me look at this again. Yeah. with his waist down here. I'm trying to keep these proportions interesting, and I don't want them to be even. All right, like so. Their body comes down. Yeah, so he'll be more in this proportion rather than that proportion. Which I think, that feels better to me. So then he'll have that, and the tunic gets tied. He'll have the pants, and then the boots. And so here we have a nice, and then the sleeves. There's a nice big open space. It's not so even. It goes here, and then we got some nice detail down here. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with that. So let's roll with that. Let's go ahead and look at this real quick. I just want to see what this might look like. There we go. Let's just play with this real quick. What if we change the shape of the hat to be a little more, I think this is a little more Russian, doing it like this. I think I like that a little better. That feels a little more Russian to me. Maybe I come up. There. Pull that back a little bit. And give it more weight, just so it's not so even. Give it more weight back here. Has a little bit more appeal to it. There we go. I think we found our guy. Right there. I think we found it. I'm liking this design. You know, it took a little while to find it, but let's go with this, and then I'm going to go ahead. Why don't we go ahead and move on, and we'll start exploring some more poses. We're going to continue with roughing out poses, but now we're going to keep these proportions, and we're going to explore some hands. We'll explore expressions, but we're getting closer. So we found our proportions. We found our kind of rough design. Let's go ahead and move on and come up with a rough pose model sheet.